Hi, everyone. It is Tonia with Tea with Tonia, and I am here today with Madineyah, and I'm so excited. We had to reschedule last week, so I always feel like they're going to be always juicy and good when something bumps it up along the way. And I am super excited for today, especially, before Thanksgiving and everything else, to kind of just share some heartfelt stories, journeys, and just celebrating the greatness of human beings in this world. And that is the purpose of me doing my Tea with Tonya interviews. I wanted to just be like sitting on a couch, and actually Madini and I think it was maybe last week or 2 weeks ago that we were doing just that. And that's when I invited her to come on. And I would love now for everyone else to hear the beautiful story that she has to share today. And the whole point of me doing these interviews is my way of bringing positive stories, connection, and openness out into the world. Because I feel like when I put the news on or I put regular TV on, it's always fear that's driving the story and one that's meant for control. And so this is just my way of sharing stories, because I know when I meet the people in my life, they always inspire me to want to do more or to recognize that things that I didn't think were possible because they're doing it. So this is my way of sharing that it's possible. And today I have the fabulous Madineyah, and we met, was it 2 years ago now? 2 years ago, we did Mama Gina's Womanly Arts together, and we met there and connected and have just done other stuff outside of there too. But I love her and what she has to share. So I am going to let her explain who she is, where she's from, what you do, and just, intro yourself to everyone.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate you saying my name correctly. That's always like, how do I say your name? So, Madineyah, so very beautifully said. So, I help creative professionals overcome performance anxiety. And as a former radio presenter that had massive performance anxiety, like, I'm so passionate about that, people getting their great work out into the world. And I do that through my life and leadership coaching. And then I'm also a EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, or the street name tapping, because you're tapping on the meridian points. So that is what I do. Very passionate about it. I'm from South Africa, but I've been in New York for the last 7 years. So we're close to each other in South Africa. So yeah.
Yeah. And now, if you will, just a little bit about now your journey, right? It's always the other thing that I always find is that we get the end result, right? It's usually when we're sharing our story, it's because we've come into our purpose and are ready to start sharing. But what I really like to find out is the juicy part of the pain points, which I always find, and I think that that's part of the reason of having these conversations, is to really start talking about the pain points, because I feel like they are significant growth points in the journey, but they don't always get talked about because we always see the end result. So give me a little bit of some pain points that you had along in your journey of becoming, working with the creatives. And I know that that's something that you actually just discovered, that was your niche that you're getting into. So just a little bit about your journey, certain things along the way that really might have in the moment seemed like it was a challenge or, again, a pain point, but then actually ended up being something that had continued on your journey, and just sharing a little bit about that and yourself.
How much time do we have?
As much as we want. So start wherever you want, and we'll see where it goes.
Oh, I didn't show you my mug. You said I should show you my
mug.
Oh,
yes.
So before we begin, this is a handleless mug, but it's basically that's me, and that's my sister, my younger sister, Nuran. And she gave it to me on my 30th birthday. And so it's Afrikaans. It's a native language of South Africa. It says, "Happy birthday, Klein Titi. Happy 30th birthday." And it means small sister. Because we have two elder sisters in their 40s. So she calls me small elder sister. So she's just cute. And yeah, my husband did the dishes and off went the handle.
Yeah, then a mug like that can't go anywhere. So I love that. And it's interesting because I didn't know why I grabbed this mug today. Because
cute. Who's that?
It's my cousin Sophia.
Okay.
And I haven't used this mug yet. I'm like, today I'm going to use Sophia because I visited her this weekend at college. And then you had your picture of your sister. And I'm like, well, that's why, because today it's mugs with people we love. Yay. So cheers. Connection already happened. So cheers to synchronicity.
Yes, absolutely. Cheers. Okay, so onto your question, and I'm happy we had that kind of light moment there before we go into the heavy stuff. So for me, the biggest thing I had to overcome was not liking the sound of my voice, wanting to hide. I think for most of my life, now that I am in this work and I can look back, I had a blocked throat chakra. I had no idea what that meant when I was younger in my 20s, but that's exactly what it was. Like, I felt this heaviness in my throat for like probably 2 decades, and I just, put it down to whenever I'm stressed, I have anxiety, that's where it goes, not knowing that that could be loosen up. So when I am stressed, it will be, for a moment, not kind of permanently like what it was. So since I was a kid, I wanted to be a radio presenter at the specific station in Cape Town. And so very much in the more toxic masculine, I was kind of just like, single focus, like go, 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 go. I didn't understand about, spiritual concepts or meditation or, the divine feminine. I knew none of that stuff. So it was just very like aggressive energy. And I got there, but I got there feeling so depleted. I did 2 years of community radio because that's what you needed to get onto a big station. And once I got to the big station, I think I was so depleted by the chase. It was just like so much no, so much rejections and like crying and like just like, but this is what I want to do, and not knowing anyone in media, and my mom on my case wanting me to get an office job with benefits, the safety.
That's exactly it. Yes.
I totally get, like they were meaning, but that was not in my heart at all. And once I got there, very grateful, I was 24 years old. And so I got given this massive show to talk with 500,000 people. And I'm very grateful in hindsight that social media was not big back then. Whew, that would have been a whole other ball game. And when I got there, I really thought like, cool, that's it. The chase is done. Now it's just like, connecting with the listeners and playing great music and working with a lot of my childhood heroes. And I never could have expected the negative consequences that came with that. Working with my childhood heroes meant that I was intimidated by them. Because I wasn't around like celebrities at that time, and it was really overwhelming. And I had the graveyard show, which was 2 to 6 a.m. And the big shows, of course, breakfast and drive. So the breakfast DJ would come in at 6 a.m. And I was so petrified. I listened to this guy growing up, and he is literally standing behind my chair, like I'm chatting to you now, and listening to my last link. And every single show, Tonia, I tripped up my words. I was like, I couldn't speak English. And it was so nerve-wracking. I was so overwhelmed, and I hated the sound of my voice. And it was the weirdest thing, but I was so drawn to radio to communicate. And now I understand, like the dots all connect. But at that point, I was like, what is wrong? Why am I tripping up over my words? Like, so that was the biggest pain point for me. And being invisible, like I didn't expect now all the praise I would get, and because I was like judging myself, so I couldn't accept it that people were like, oh my gosh, like you have this radio show, you're in Good Hope FM, like that's like amazing, like that was one of the 3 big radio stations back then, and I couldn't accept that because I was the inner critic voice was so fast in my head that I would chatter like every day, and every time the mic went on, like I would freeze up. I would tell myself like you're gonna mess up. And there was a drive radio DJ. He was a white guy, and I really liked the sound of his voice. And because I had no idea what my voice was, so I actually remember putting a sticky note on my computer, and I said, I cringe inside now. I do all this purposeful, mindful, heart-centered work. I was 24, 11 years ago. I put a sticky note that said, speak clearly, and I put his name there. So that was kind of my affirmation without knowing what affirmations was back then. So, and I forgot that sticky note was there. And then the breakfast DJ came in, and he was like, and I have to cringe again because I didn't know who I was. So I had a radio name,
Right.
because a lot of people can't pronounce my name, like outside of my culture. So I went by Madden. So I'd sign up. I'd sign off
Okay.
like Madden, like Good Up FM, like see you tomorrow. So he was like, Madden, what is that? And he was like laughing with me, and I was like so embarrassed. And I took the sticky note down, and I was like, oh no, I like the way he sounds. I like the way he sounds, and like, he has such a great voice. And he's like, why not like me? He was making a joke about it, and I was like, well, I know this guy for so long. We were together in community radio as well, and it's just really telling of how I had no idea who I was, what owning my voice is. And it became a big thing in the radio station that he actually spoke about it on air, the breakfast DJ, lighthearted, but he said that I had the sticky note. So
My goodness.
that was
right. So,
not knowing who I am, not owning my voice. That was probably the biggest thing, and not being comfortable being seen and getting praised, because I did not think I was doing a good job at all. So yeah.
Oh, love. Thank you for sharing that. But there's so much richness in that story. Like, I think part of it is there's so many golden nuggets. I want to try to capture them all and highlight them that you had said. Was also recognizing too, when we're in our 20s, you don't realize when you're in it what's happening. And right, like you didn't have a voice, or that you didn't know what you were doing. I mean, you were following along with your dream. I mean, that was your dream as a little girl, whatever you made, that you were going to work for the radios, and then you get it. And then it's not the experience that you expect it to be. And I kind of loved when you shared this with me last week, because, in my mind, I have people who are on the radio are confident in their voice, and they got there because they had this confidence. And right, when you're looking in from the outside, you don't know, and you just make up all of this stuff, but we never know what someone's story is. So I thought it was so powerful to just hear yours and your vulnerability in just sharing that, because I feel like so much along the way, or at least, in my life, it was like in your 20s, you graduate college, you're supposed to have it all figured out. And God, it's in my 30s now that I'm starting to just claim who I am as a person. And it felt like my 20s were for me to just make all of these mistakes and everything else. And yes, I'm still making them, but now I own them. So it's just, yeah, like you said, you didn't even know that you were doing it. I feel like so much of it is just suppressing, right? Like you were having all of these like anxieties and fears of all of this stuff, and you didn't know about the heart chakra, throat chakra, and all of this other work. I mean, now you're an EFT practitioner and doing all different kinds of work and doing that. But at that point, you did not know. And how much of that just gets stuffed to kind of just do whatever it takes, or just keep moving forward. And that's just something that I think I just want people in their 20s maybe to hear, is just like, no, it's a part of the journey. And just because you get what it is that you want, it doesn't mean that it's going to be this blissful experience. Like it's the journey, not the destination.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I love that saying. It's definitely about the journey. And in the beginning of the journey, it's very hard to just be on the journey. You want to get to the destination. Mm-hmm. That's definitely the mindset I was in. But now I so appreciate it. I truly would not be the person I am today, do the work that I am today, if it wasn't for that experience, because feeling so blocked up led me to coaching. And as a participant on a retreat, which I'd so enjoyed, that I went down this rabbit hole to become a coach myself while still in radio. And eventually, that the Sound to Serve took over. And it's so interesting because the last few years coaching full-time, I've been working with an array of amazing people, like corporates. I did a summer leadership program at Yale University in Scotland at St. Andrews. So just working with such a variety of people. And I've realized, as you said, very recently in the last month or so, that my niche is creatives. I love working with creatives. Yes. I understand it so deeply, where people think you have a TV show, you have a podcast, you have a radio show, you would, in whatever public environment you're in, an MC, people just assume you're confident, you have it all figured out. And my experience today, it is not true at all. I work with people that have won Emmys, that have done amazing stuff, and they are petrified because
Ah,
there's all these fears like, am I going to get another Emmy? Like, people putting so much pressure on me now that this one needs to be even better. So it's all these things going on all the time. Just because you won an award once doesn't mean you're confident for the rest of your life, because now
mhm.
this added pressure and things. So it's, and I believe, I know you're creative as well. I believe all solopreneurs, we are creative. We need to do so
Yep.
many things, our own marketing, admin, design, like, storytelling, post, all of that is so creative.
Mhm.
So, and I truly believe to be a creative professional, like, we are called to this. No one says, hey, I want to be criticized all day. I want people to judge me. I want to choose a path that is hard, knowing
Mhm.
that I'm going to go to auditions and be rejected. Like, no one would choose this unless they're called.
Mhm.
So that's why I love this work so much, because you were chosen to do this. So
Mhm.
it's beyond a job, and it is so terrible to not do your creative work in the world, to feel like stifled because
Yep.
of your own like inner critical voice. So I'm just so passionate about helping creatives clear that out, like, so that they could just do their great work. This conversation we having, I don't think I would have been able to do it 11 years ago. I'd be like, oh, could I just like do like um either a podcast or just like type in answers for you to like share. Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable doing this.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be doing it either because I didn't speak at all. And I think that that's why I related to when we were speaking, because I had so much around my voice as well, bullied and all of this other stuff. And I just love when connecting with you because it was such a mirror of sometimes things come naturally and easy to people, and that's what they're meant to be doing. But from what I learned in my experience and then seeing in you as well, sometimes it's the things that we fear the most that we need to reclaim, that then becomes our purpose and our path, that we then become teachers or healers or I don't know, whatever, consultants, coaches, whichever word lines up for you. But we learn to do it for ourselves, and then we go out in the world to then teach that because we understand it. It's not something that we just learned in a book. It's literally steps that we learned in our lives to do. And it's so much so, like you said, it does become a calling because all you're doing is constantly putting yourself out there in your vulnerability. And once there's a block, it's looking at it and asking, okay, now how do I move on from this next pain point? Because it's not about just one. It's a constant thing. And that's what I'm learning too. I always think that I've finished and then there's the next step. And it's just, I think, learning how to go through the spiral and just maybe you'll move through it quicker and doing it with support and in a healthier way. And that's why I love connecting with people who are doing this work. Like I did a tapping session with Madineyah and it was incredible. It was so insane. I am one of those people that once I hear something come across my way 3 or 4 times, then I know that that's something that I need to look into or do. And you had come across, and so I had a session with you on tapping, and it is powerful. And I was just, it's really, really cool that I'm finding these things in my life now, like Reiki. And I also love that you said in your 20s, you didn't know anything about this. Like if I would meet myself now, I probably wouldn't like me, to be
Yeah.
honest. And it kind of sounds like the same with you, with your 20s. It was, and I'm not knocking the masculine. It's the toxic
Yeah.
masculine that I'm knocking. But it was this energy of go, 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 do whatever it takes. That it was just like, it was all about the goal, right? It was always about the destination. And excuse my mouth, but fuck how you got there. Like just drag ass if you have
Yeah.
to, but just show up. And I was that way for so long that the thought of doing yoga meditation, I would have laughed in my face and laughed even more if I said that I would be doing Reiki and healing through money and all of this other stuff. But I kind of love that it's through those things that we now have our businesses and now feeling like we really know what it is that we're doing. And now you just learning that you're working with creatives because you are and you were, and you totally get that just because you get the dream job, that doesn't mean that everything in the inside matches that just because you have it. So working in it so that it becomes a healthy and fun experience, like that's a message that needs to go out there, and not and in ways that are healthy, not drugs, not alcohol, not whatever it is, anything that's avoidance mechanisms, but really in a way that's healthy, and really works. And doing that, I think it's remarkable.
Thank you. Thank you. And I love hearing your story as well. And it's exactly that, there's always layers. We think like, oh, we're fine with being visible. We're fine with praise. And then, we get a lot of praise or big visibility. And it's like, oh my gosh, so absolutely.
Yeah. And then I feel like another one, and because of the work that I do with money and everything else, and another question I love to ask is just, what was the money story that you had to overcome in order to be living the life as a coach and doing what you're doing? I mean, I just heard one come in that you said about your mother. It was like, oh, just get a job and get the benefits. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's just so many stories that come in also about money that also can deviate us off from our path. So I want to just know if, give me one that came across your way that you had to overcome along your way.
Yes. So for me, I think the biggest money story that I had to overcome was that you needed millions of dollars in order to live your dream, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. That was the biggest thing I had to overcome, because when I really crunched numbers when I was younger, I was like, oh, wow, I could like travel and do all these things. Because back then you didn't care where you slept, at least me, I was like couch surfing. I was doing all this stuff. Like now I wouldn't do that. But so when I realized in 2010, when I came on vacation for the first time to New York, it was like a big thing. Like no one in my family or friends has really like been to the States. South Africa is really far. Like it's, 20 to 24 hours away, a flight. And I realized, oh, wow, it's only like about $900 for the flight. And, I can finagle it like where I'm sleeping and doing stuff. And it's just me. So, if I need to like not, I could just like budget where I eat and things like that. And I was like, wow. And I came here for the first time, 2010. I remember Empire State of Mind, the song, Jay-Z and Alicia Keys.
Great song.
Phenomenal song. I was in radio. Then it was on hot rotation. The song played like every couple of songs. It was that song. I just knew I needed to go. And and always I was following my intuition. And I was really blown away at how cheap it was for the amazing experience that I had. And I ended up meeting people on retreats in South Africa who lived in New York. And she was like, come stay in my apartment in Brooklyn. I'll be gone for a few days. So all those type of things started to happen. I think because I just set the intention, even if I don't have, millions of dollars, I'm still going to live my life and do great things. And that was,
Yes.
That was actually the turning point, that trip, like I decided 2010, 2 weeks, knowing no one in New York, that I was going to leave radio because the sound to serve just got bigger and bigger. And I decided to leave like a long-term relationship. So it was so pivotal. I can never say that word. Pivotal, right? Pivotal, yeah. And it's so
I have my Brooklyn accent, so
I love it. You like forget about it. So it's so funny because what my boyfriend back then, he was supposed to come with me, and 3 months before the trip, he was like, I don't have money, and we were planning this trip for like a while. So I was like, I'm still gonna go, and again, he let money stop him. I just set the intention, I'm gonna get the money, things are gonna come, and things did come. I got a massive tax return, all that things happened because I was so clear that I'm going to New York 2010 for 2 weeks. The song is calling me, and now I know why. It's 9 years later. I've been here 7 years, met my amazing husband here on a trip in 2012. So back then already, like you have to always follow your gut. So long story short, absolutely. Like so much things I've gotten in my life because of not thinking about how am I going to do this? Like I don't have all this money, like big programs I've did that I know is going to, support my life for the rest of my life investing in myself, coaching programs, personal development programs,
Yep.
not knowing how am I going to get, that $5, $10, $15,000, and a way will always come if you're clear on your intention, you have faith, and you move out of your own way. So that's the biggest story I had to.
Love you. Just love you.
So that was the biggest money story I had to overcome, that I needed money in the bank before I can live my dreams. And if I did, I'd probably still be in Cape Town and probably had the office job that my mom wanted me to have.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that's exactly it. Intention is everything. And it's something I teach all the time. And I love it when a client is at the end of a session and they get it, because it's not about the amount of money, but they're like, my money is stretching somehow. They're like, I'm making the same amount of money, but I'm doing more. And I'm like, right, because that's what attention does. Like when you put an intention around something and you just start to get creative with things. And that's why I love also working with creatives, because, there is the starving artist story that exists. And I'm like, no, if you could just tap into that money is just an energy and that it's just creation. If you're a creative, you're actually already in that. It's just the way of viewing it to tap into that way of just money is that as well. And you did it. Like, that's exactly what it is. You start to get creative, you turn it into a game, and little by little you save that money and you do it. And I think so much out there, the message is 6 figures, 7 figures, and all of these arbitrary numbers. And I'm not knocking those numbers. What I always say is crunch your numbers. Maybe it is $1 million for you. And if it is, go for it. Because if it added up to that, then all the power to you. But some people's happy point might be 60,000 and they're still able to travel. But I get so sad when I hear people who aren't doing things because they think it's too expensive.
Yeah.
I'm like, just crunch the numbers, because most of the time it's not. Traveling really isn't that expensive. We just think it needs to be the trip that we see on, whatever show, and it's traveling to the Four Seasons and whatever it is. And it's like, no, just go for it. Like it's not hard, but overcoming that. So thank you for sharing your story and your vulnerability, because I hope it just has someone else who's maybe a little afraid to take that step to kind of just know that it's possible, because you already did it. And the way that we're taught things doesn't mean that that's how it goes. We have to find out what works for us and what it is for us specifically and do it that way. So yeah, thank you on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And people, from my experience working with a lot of people as well, they would spend according to their values. I'm sure you see that all the time in your work. So if you love that $5 latte every day, that goes a long way in saving that. If you think you can't afford a trip, if you have a rule where you buy 3 new clothing items a month, change it up, put that in your, saving jar. That goes a long way. Before you know it, you have a beautiful 2-week vacation somewhere. So, yeah.
It's the biggest, when I do people's budgets, the biggest number that people don't know where their money goes is usually food.
Mm-hmm.
A biggest one, groceries or food or whatever it is, or these little things that happen here and there. And then that's why, again, after they get intentional around it, it's like, oh, I am able to save for this trip. And I'm able to do that. So don't let the fear of something rob you from the experience of it. Face it head on, and you don't have to do it alone. And I think that that's another thing too, is just also, it's okay to start talking about these things. And if you're afraid, going to the right person to kind of just start expressing it versus holding it in and everything else. So yeah. And then, I talk about the pain and everything else, because I think that it's something that needs to be spoken about instead of it always being positive, just positive. However, I am a big component of joy, and it is why I do the work that I do with money, with these interviews and everything. And so I believe that joy has the power to overcome fear. That if we're afraid of something, if we turn it into a game or play, it actually then becomes something of an adventure, and then we're able to do it. So what I want to ask you is, what are ways that you experience joy in your life?
Ooh. So for me, I find it's different. I think you would understand, because I've done the deep work, the meditating for, I think, since 2011, and do a lot of deep cleaning and clearing. And I really experience joy now, just sitting on the couch, just being, no TV on. I just really enjoy being with myself. I could experience joy having a cup of coffee, 10 minutes, quiet, peaceful cup of coffee. That for me is so joyous. It fuels me up. And yeah, I think because I don't need anything, in my 20s, even a couple of years ago, I needed things to make me, feel a certain way, joyous and that. And now I can elicit that just like a great song comes on, I'm dancing around in the living room. Like that for me is exciting. It's like joyful. It's so fun. My husband comes home, like, we do like silly things, like we play together, like on the couch. He's a comedian. So I was attracted to
talk about joy. Yes.
So it's not always like the big things, which ties into, your money question before this. It's not always, oh, we're going to Paris, then we're going to work hard. And then like I have great 2 weeks in Paris and then come back and work. It's not that. And then definitely is those silly moments. Like I experience the most joy, which I'm going to get a lot of it when I go to South Africa in a couple of weeks, playing with my nephew and nieces. They are so cute, and like, kids just bring you into that present, joyful moment. It's all about joy and tantrums.
Yes.
So I love that. And then
but they go through it quickly.
Yes, yeah. And what also brings me joy is my pleasure. I'm not going to say guilty pleasure. I'm not using that term anymore. Is I watch the Real Housewives series. And it is so joyful for me because I'm so much in this deep work. And then I'm like watching, Bethany on Real Housewives of New York or Orange County. And I was like, whoa, what are these like women up to? And it's just like, it's really fun for me, like a nice mental break. So yeah.
I love it. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Because I know that, there's a right or wrong way of doing it, and it's not. It's just what brings you pleasure. And thank you for not saying guilty pleasure, because there is no such thing. It's just all pleasure if it goes into that joy. And again, I think you said it, kids are always the greatest teacher of joy. So if you find yourself asking yourself this question and you don't know what joy is for yourself, just go watch a kid and just see how it is, because it literally is play and everything else. And so the last thing is, what tool or message would you like to share with people, or something you would have said to yourself to support you in your dreams and your journey that you would like to now share with others?
Yeah. So a big and a quick mindset shift is to ask yourself quality questions. So an example of a negative question could be like, why does this always happen to me? Like, why do I always attract this partner? Why do I always pick up weight? And then you could shift that to a quality question, because that immediately puts your mind into a solution-focused mindset where it's looking for answers, positive answers. So there are two great quality questions openers that I love. It is what if and what would it take? And then you put it in your goal that you want. So for an example, what if I actually can lose 5 pounds in the next 2 weeks? Your brain will automatically look for the answers instead of the other way. Your brain is also going to give you the answers, like why? Oh, me. Oh, because you eat all the time. Like you don't want to exercise. You're on the couch.
Yep.
So, and then the next one, what would it take for me to attract a great partner by 2020? To ring in the new year, what would it take? And your brain will be like, oh, okay, like maybe I should go out there more. Maybe I should say yes to the blind dates. Maybe I should not be so picky, like, And so those are really two great sentence starters to use, and you can insert any goal there. What if, what would it take? And just say that a few times, every day. And when you're in the shower, when you, in a quiet moment, meditating, jogging, or just sitting on the couch, that's usually when it pops in, the guidance, what you should do in order to get that. So just prime yourself for those two questions.
I love those. And I already see it. I was doing it in my head while you were saying it, and it is. And I love it because it's all about perspective shift. That's what mindset is. So thank you so much for that powerful tool. It is good. And I'm going to end up putting it on our Facebook message so that people see that. And then also I am going to put Madineyah's information on there, her website, so that if you want to find out more about her, you will go on her website to see the amazing work that she does out in the world. And love, thank you so much for coming on today, for playing with me, and for your vulnerability and sharing yourself with me and others today.
Thank you for having me. You're so welcome.
Yay. All right, everyone, enjoy your Wednesday and enjoy your Thanksgiving as we're heading up into the holiday weekend. So enjoy, share the love, connect, and thank you all for joining us today. Bye.